Welcome to the Communicating Capital podcast, where finance and communication get a fresh perspective. Hosted by a dynamic team of women in the industry, we're here to redefine the conversation with candid, no-nonsense interviews featuring top executives, communication experts, and industry leaders. With a focus on clarity and real-world impact, we make the complex world of finance digestible and relatable. So whether you're a seasoned professional or you're just interested in our world, we're here to help you navigate the space in new and exciting ways. Today, joining us from Long Island, New York, is Charlie. He serves as the COO of B2i Digital, a company that's changing the way businesses connect with investors online. I know that you have 15 years of experience in marketing, multimedia, investor relations, so you definitely are going to be bringing a wealth of knowledge to this interview. So it's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Jessica. It's a pleasure to be here. Congratulations on the podcast. So I'm excited to see where you guys take this and all the exciting stuff you do. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. We actually think you're the perfect guest because I know that you have backgrounds in financial events. That's how I initially met you. And now you're more on the marketing side. I know that you've orchestrated yourself numerous high-profile conferences with Deal Flow, with B2i. Can you tell us a little bit about your career journey, kind of how you started and how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, definitely. And I really started in multimedia in general, not with a focus on finance. I did a lot of work for all sorts of different companies doing general marketing when Yelp, first started and companies were getting, videos online, and that was like a new thing. I worked with a lot of companies to build out their Yelp platforms, create videos for them, understanding how to fine tune like those audiences and how to utilize that for both, small local businesses, larger businesses. So I started doing that, and then I started working with, all sorts of different insurance companies, real estate companies, working on their, marketing platforms, email marketing again, when that stuff was more new and there was a lot of exciting things coming out there. And then, eventually, after doing that, I found my way working with Deal Flow events around like 2016. And, that's when I really started keeping my focus on, finance specifically, taking the marketing background that I had and then utilizing that to really start orchestrating, the events, and really dove into finance. And I spent 7-8 years there. Oh, wow. Working on conferences as eventually the managing director of the company. And yeah, once I started doing events, I really just fell in love with doing events. And even what drove me into learning the finance, aside from the fact that obviously it's good to know finance if you're on financial conferences, was that I really enjoyed working with all the people that started coming to the conferences, and it naturally made me want to understand the people that I was working with and what they were doing, because I found it so interesting. I found that the people that come to the events, whether it's the public companies, the investors, the service professionals, they all have such an interesting story, and so I really dove into understanding the capital markets so that I could be just a part of that story. And then ultimately now the COO of B2i Digital with David Shapiro, and excited that this is where I'm at now.
I love that. I love hearing this story because you're right. The pivot into working with all of these publicly traded companies is definitely a learning curve, but it's so exciting. I feel like I'm learning something new every single day. And I just spoke with David, so I want to get into B2i Digital a little bit because I feel like you are doing something really unique. You're combining the digital marketing side with investors and perhaps increasing the awareness of these publicly traded companies. That's not an easy thing to do. So I want to know how B2i's platform works, how it's different from traditional approaches to IR, given your background.
Yeah, so the approach is really when it comes to like the digital marketing, and I don't know that anybody else really does it this way. And I think when we talk to a lot of CEOs and CFOs and CMOs of companies, they're used to just you take a social media image, you post it up, you say something, cute or fun or interesting, and you put it with a picture, and then you hope that, people are going to see it. But, the truth is that, if you're not, giving money to one of these platforms, it's going to be limited on who's going to see it, even if you have a strong following. And then, taking, that and saying that you need to keep it, really, focused and targeted on the people that you want, and make sure that the messaging is aligned. And when we set campaigns, when we work on all the platforms that we're working on, it's not a set it and forget it. It's not we'll set it and see where it goes in 2 weeks. We have a team of people that are very familiar with Google Analytics, and that's how they spend their lives. And it's every day in there, moment to moment, tracking, what money is being spent properly, how can it be tweaked, how can the audience be tweaked, so we're maximizing like every penny and every dollar, that's being spent, because we're not in the business of losing people's money. The goal is to be getting return on all of that, and attention's in the details, and then we make sure that we capitalize on that.
I love hearing that, because I know a lot of the people that are tuning in are digital marketers, or they're looking to become digital marketers. Maybe they're on the communication side and want to look more on the paid side. So that's definitely very interesting. I'm going to pivot really quickly back to events, because I find it so interesting that you've worked with the SPAC conference, the Microcap conference, and then most recently the Spartan conference, which I was so sad to not be able to go to because it looked amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the lessons that you've learned about connecting companies with investors in person at events?
Yes. The first thing, to realize is, it's how people, interact, to me, is important. Mm-hmm. Meaning that, a company, can be one thing on paper, and, you can, analyze it and you can read it similar to like a person's resume, and you can make a decision based on, what you read on Seeking Alpha, or, the description in the deck, that they sent you. But just like people, companies are just so much more than just what's on like the page and what you can see. And so for me, doing these events is an opportunity for investors to learn, the stuff that you can't, read on paper, and to, understand, the CEO and the management team of these companies, like what they're really made of, what and what their, goals, really are, so that investors can make judgments not just by what's on paper, but by, really meeting the teams. And when you're working with companies that are in the microcap space, I mean, there's in general a limited amount of information on them anyway. So the best way for an investor to really make a judgment on whether they should or shouldn't be investing in a company is to meet people in person. And then taking that even a step further, how people meet in person and the environment that they're in can really shape the difference between what that interaction is going to be. So even if you have a meeting and you're gonna have like one-on-one investor meetings, again, you're in a space where like an investor can choose a company they want to meet with, but all they're really going to know is, what they saw online to choose from, decide if that company makes sense. And the other way too, for the company to make a decision if they want to meet with that investor, all they're going to really see is, the profile and the type of companies that investor is investing in, not really the person. So aside from just doing like one-on-ones, like my big interest is always creating like a unique environment for investors and companies to meet in. So if people are doing or sharing like an activity, if they're sharing an experience together, it's a lot more likely that they're going to bond and look beyond what's on paper and believe in the person that they're working with. So, when I look at these events, I'm like, what can we do that's different? What do people have not done before? Or how do we put people in an environment where they're going to stand next to each other and be like, this is a lot of fun, this is interesting, and now we have something to talk about. I always joke that nobody has an inside joke from a Zoom call. It's never happened to me. So I want people to be next to each other, and then when they see each other next time, they remember that thing. And then that's how people interact, and people want to, work with and invest with people that they believe in and trust in. And you're only going to do that by having a lived experience in person together.
I love that you're saying that, because part of the IR, and I've talked to a few IR professionals so far, and they're saying, yes, the investor's one side, but the relations part is like the part that sometimes gets missed for a lot of people. Yeah. So I love that you're able to do that in person with the events that you were all supporting, but also online through B2i Digital. So I want to know, from your perspective, from an IR perspective, what makes for an effective investor story? So how is it told online? Does it differ from the way that they might tell it in person?
Yeah. So, the interesting thing about that is we like to use like the digital marketing platforms where you have this huge audience as a way to fine tune what you should be talking about when you're talking to an investor in person. So meaning, let's say I'm working with a company and they have a few different ideas of how they want to market a particular product, or just market their services. Maybe it's a tagline that they want to test out, or, a description that they want to test out. So what we'll do is, we can obviously create multiple marketing campaigns and focus it on certain audiences to see what works and see what doesn't work. So we're then able to take all of that data and then give them like what's the best approach when you're in person and you have your deck and you're going to give a presentation. Wow. So we're able to sit down and say, okay, this is the presentation we've been using. We've now tested all these different things over the course of like the last month, 2 months, whatever the time might be. We would suggest you use this one because by using this message, we got the most clicks, the most impressions, the most people came to your page. We built leads with this one versus these that didn't work. So then when you're going to like the people that are institutional investors and they're the ones where you want that one person to give you that big paycheck, you're going to them with something that's been proven, something that you've tested, something that work, rather than just sitting in a vacuum in your office somewhere and not talking to anybody and then just trying to think off the top of your head, what do you think is going to resonate? So we want people to go with like proven data that they know works, with a message that they know resonates, and bring that to an investor meeting. So if they're going to do a roadshow, they're going with the best information and constantly updating and changing that message.
I love that you're talking about data, because that is so important. And the fact that you get to see that and provide that value to your clients or potential clients, companies that you're looking at, I find that very valuable, very, very valuable. And so I want to know what trends you're seeing. Is it around data? If I'm a company that's looking at B2i Digital and maybe signing up with you or working with you on events, what would interest me? So like, what kind of trends are you seeing? Like, why would we want to work together?
Yeah. So I would say like, as far as, trends go, when it comes to events, and then I guess I'll talk about like digital marketing, because it could be, a few different things. But with conferences, we've really come like such a long way, even in just the last decade that I've, been, involved in them. And one thing that I think is going to end up happening, and I find interesting, is that, so I think people think that when it comes to like a digital event and like an in-person event and digital marketing, they're thinking that things are going to go more in the digital way, because we have so much more like digital AI things coming up. There was like a whole big thing a couple of years ago where you're going to have like a metaverse and people are going to be doing that. And personally, I think that died as quick as it came alive. Because back to my original point, like that's just not how you create, relationships. Right. And I think what's going to end up happening is that now with the use of AI and so many things online being like possibly fake or are not knowing where the original source comes from, I think the trend is going to be that if you're an investor or if you're anybody and you need to know that the information is 100% accurate and coming from the source that you believe it to be coming to, you're going to have to be in person to do that. Mm-hmm. Because eventually you're not even going to know if the person that's giving you that marketing message is a real person or not, or if it's an AI with an AI voice, or is it a person that's real. So like if you want to get like authentic information, I think in person is going to actually expand even more, because that's where you're going to have to go to know that the person you're talking to is actually accurate and stuff. So when I'm talking to people, I think that that's really the future. Then when you talk about like digital marketing, the one thing that we've noticed is never count out a platform. So for instance, like TikTok, you would think it's, people dancing and, people showing you how to cook, your next meal.
Right.
But, we were like, let's take a stab at throwing some like investor information out there. So you're really putting up these, what most people find probably like a boring video with a little snippet about, a public company. And over the course of a couple of months, we got 200,000 followers for people who are sitting there following trends about public companies. Who would have thought that that's, yeah, exactly.
On TikTok?
Yes, yeah.
I love that.
Let's just give it a try and see what's the worst thing can happen, And then it blew up, because what happens is you get these, later generations who want to go on TikTok to watch what their grandkids are doing, but the algorithms will bring them things they're interested in. They see a publicly traded company that maybe they're an investor they want to trade into, and they listen to it and they get more and more. And now, our TikTok is just flooded with avenues to do that. So when people come to us and they're a company and they want to know, what are you doing differently? Well, that's what we're doing differently. We're going to put you anywhere that we possibly can. And we move quickly. So if we decide we want to do something Monday, by Tuesday, we're doing it. We're pursuing it.
I love that. And I love that you're talking about TikTok, because we have a few Gen Z clients, who come out of like the meme stock era. And so they're like totally about social media for investing. Right. They're like full force, Warren Katie, like on Reddit. And they're like, I'm on TikTok looking for like my next investment. I'm posting about they'll like live stream. I don't know if they're live streaming on TikTok or on Discord or something, but it's like what they're trading in the day. way. And it's so interesting to see how that's coming about. So I love that B2i is in front of that. So you guys are actually already in front of that audience when a lot of people aren't. They're all stuck in like the older ways, which are the traditional ways, I should say, not older ways, but the traditional ways, which of course works, but we need the new stuff. So I feel like you guys are ahead of the trends from what I'm hearing, which is good.
Yeah, well, we try to be, and I agree. I mean, so much has changed over the last, decade with people, talking about, stocks and stuff online. And as you say, the meme stocks, Reddit is another platform where we'll post things on there. And we work with the companies that we do. We make sure to put, ads and information on threads, on, stock tweets, and where they're being talked about. So we could actively say that if this person tags your company in a conversation, we can be posting information there. So we can make sure that just in case people are talking about things maybe inaccurate about your company or unflattering about your company, let's make sure that, people have an opportunity to really learn for themselves about your company, not just take somebody else's, word for it. So we want to make sure that we're definitely monitoring where you're being talked about and that the correct information is being gotten there, and that investors can inform themselves. And we funnel that into, a platform that, we've created so that they can then get interest and get information straight from the company we're working with.
I feel like every company should do what you're telling us right now.
Me too.
Yeah, I love it. And even companies that maybe aren't publicly traded, like even like our PR company, we might want to look at something like that too, because you guys definitely know what you're talking about. One thing I want to shift to is about management, because I know you're COO, you oversee a lot of different aspects of the business. You have a team that works under you. I want to know what your typical day-to-day looks like and how you prioritize driving growth while also building up your fabulous team.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And, I'll start with saying there's really no typical day. So when you say like typical, I'm like, every day is just so different because I don't know what's going to come in my inbox. And, we could see something that is important to a client and that's going to shift our week, or an initiative we want to take and that's going to shift where we go. And I think that being dynamic when you are a new company is, very important to be able to do things quickly based on like trends and people that you're talking to. But another thing that is important, like you said, is that you want to be able to grow, but you also want to make sure you're taking care of the clients, that you have currently. Right. And the way that I like to look at that is that, we're just constantly, growing our team. So, we're a team of 16, people now, and I would imagine it'll be a team of 25 by the time we're in the spring. So as we bring on new clients, as we bring on new initiatives, we bring on new people. And being that, we do remote work, we can take on the best people globally that make sense for the projects that we're working on. And, that's what we do, is we strive to bring on, the best people. And then one thing that I want to touch upon that you're saying is that, as far as like, public companies, we'll work with all sorts of companies. It doesn't necessarily have to be public. When it comes to like our featured conferences, they are, but we'll certainly work with any company that we believe in, that we think that we can help. And the way that we kind of like manage and built our platform is that we have, featured companies, which are typically publicly traded, sometimes private companies that we believe in, that we're working with. Then we'll have featured conferences, which are the events that we're helping to either promote or to run, or, however we're involved with those events. And then more recently, we're bringing on featured experts, which are the service professionals in the space. So what I call like serial sponsors. They're sponsoring events, or they're servicing public companies, they're servicing private companies. And they're the people that can really help, public and private companies grow. And so what we're doing is we're bringing those communities together: your investors, the companies, the conferences, and the service professionals. And then we're helping them to market year round. So rather than just being like, I'm going to these 6 events, take the connections you made at those events, but make sure that year round you're getting in front of those audiences. So it's not just, okay, I'm at an event, I have a booth, I'm going to talk to them. In 6 months from now, you want to be there when they make that decision that maybe you're the next person that you want to talk to. And we want to take all the digital marketing and events experience we have and then bring that to the service professionals as well, and be able to help them grow. So certainly staying busy.
I love that you're saying that, because I know a lot of people that are listening in are actually service providers. So whether they own their own PR firm, their own IR firm, or their one-stop shop or something like that that's looking to service clients, I feel like they need to know you and David. So that's actually really good. I'm happy to hear that. And that's something I didn't know. So very interesting.
Well, if they don't know me already, then they're welcome to, reach out, anytime. I'm always excited to meet new people and chat with people. And then the reason that I know as much as I do know is really just just from talking to other people, what's their experience, what are they learning? And I spend a lot of my day, as you were asking about, just talking to either new people or people that I know, and just trying to follow, the trends and see what's working for people, what events they're going to, what companies they're working with, and staying on top of, the latest and greatest.
It helps that you're a good person to talk to too. So something that I've noted is I've been to a few events that I know that you've been at, and some of our mutual connections have been at, and they always say good things about you, and they always say good things about David. So I feel like people want to network with you, and therefore they want to network through you as well. So that's definitely important to note. So I'm a big fan, and I know that people that are listening in are too.
Yeah, well, I always think that it's important to to talk to people the way that you want to be talked to, and truthfully, the way that I look at it when I talk to everybody is I just treat everybody like they're my best friend. If I met you that day or 3 weeks ago or 20 years ago, I treat everybody like they are a friend of mine, because I honestly feel that way. So I enjoy working with people, and I'm glad that comes through. So thank you.
I love to hear that. Charlie, before we wrap up, I do want to know if you have any advice for professionals that are looking to follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, first I'd say that, from the beginning, like I said, I really have a passion for what I do, both in finance, the events. So if this is something that you are passionate about, that's, important first is, have the passion, because it's not for the faint of heart. The market's changed so much, events, while I love them, can constantly change. There's so much going on. So, get into it with a passion and excited to roll your sleeves up. And if you really want to, follow my footsteps, we're hiring. So, you could just call me and we'll see what we can do.
I love that. I bet you people are going to call you after listening to this.
I hope so.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's so amazing. And you're right. It is not for the faint of heart. I have been to a few events, and by the end of it, I'm like laying just completely deceased. So I totally get it.
Oh, I'm still tired from the Spartan conference.
I bet. And so I'm so appreciative that you were able to take the time today, and I'm excited. I also get to see you in person next week in New York. So I'm
excited that you guys are coming in. Look forward to, seeing you again and the rest of your team. And this was a lot of fun. You're a great interviewer, so it made this, super, super, easy and relaxed. So I appreciate that. And, I do look forward to talking again.
You are awesome, Charlie. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. If you do want to connect with Charlie or learn more about B2i or learn more about Charlie himself, check out the links in our show notes. As always, thank you for joining us on Communicating Capital.